Hello, friends. I hope you're doing really well. This is Tracy Brown, and my team and I do non-diet trauma-informed nutrition counseling. And the goal of all of that is to help you have agency and very clear and safe enough feeling awareness of what your needs are. That's one of our goals. And one of the most frustrating things that when people work with us is there's always this part that wants to do the work, that wants to have a free life, wants to have agency, doesn't want to be offended, knows we live in a fat phobic, thin obsessed culture, and just doesn't even want to be bothered by it, to be honest. But there's a lot of steps in between to getting to that place of this internal locus of control. Like, yeah, that's painful, that's frustrating, but I'm not taking that personally. I'm rolling on. And one of the things that gets in our way sometimes is something, again, we call a nourishment barrier. And we talked about this in Monday's video, is a lot of times what looks like self-sabotage is really needs and care and intimacy and introspection can feel like a threat. And so to get to this place of basically food or weight is, it takes up health take up a small part of my day or my life. It feels like it has to be everything because it's a faux protection. It's a stand-in for real care, real direction, just something to grasp and grab onto. But it's not real feeling safe inside or out to get needs met, basically. And so in today's video, we're going to kind of take it a step further than Monday's and talk about what are some practical things if you want to soften your nourishment barrier, which means I don't want to be as scared of getting my needs met. I don't want to be intimidated or disgusted with my needs. I just want, if I'm sad, I'm sad. And I have the resources and I have enough self-compassion to comfort the sad. If I'm mad, I have enough regulation to be like, that's really frustrating. I don't like that. How can I navigate that? How can I uphold my boundaries? How do I speak my boundaries? You're doing that kind of stuff instead of I'm not eating or I'm binging or I'm, enough with this whole being introspective with the function of my eating. I'm just going to go back on a diet. Okay. So when we're not able to hold on to what's good for us, we know that we've got a nourishment barrier. Okay. So here are some things you can think about. For anybody here who really still struggles a lot with what my needs are, when I'm hungry, when I'm full, what I like, what I don't like based on preference, not based on old, brainwashing from whatever, all the health and nutrition and diet books you've read. When you feel stuck and attached to these things and you're having a hard time, can't even trust your own inner wisdom here, something that would be really helpful for people, even if you just did this for a week, is every hour, check in with yourself. Am I hungry? What sounds good? What looks good? What even might I want to eat if I won't let myself do it? Just getting truth, just getting a truth, test here of what is the truth, not, oh, I shouldn't be hungry again. Well, that might not be the truth. Or I can't believe I ate that because I ate that yesterday. Well, why can't you believe it? Maybe you still want it. Because oftentimes what we're reacting to is our conditioning and our belief systems. But that doesn't mean that what we believe is true around food and your needs. Sometimes we make this interpretation of what our needs should be based on if our needs were met or not in early life, if we've gotten the belief or the sense or the interpretation that my needs are inconvenient for other people, and that's been really personalized and reinforced, then you'll stop trusting yourself. That's where that comes from. So this exercise of checking in hourly gets you some truth. Again, if you are watching this, you're like, well, what's the point of all this work when it was that much work, maybe even less, to go on a diet? It's because, well, if you're on a diet, you are following someone else's beliefs about who you should be and what you need. And the truth is, in your insides, are the only one that really knows what you need at any given moment. Now, there's some good information out there. There's some decent, solid nutrition research about like eating a variety of food and drinking enough water and sleeping well and having good connections and having a purpose and general care. But in terms of like what you should do this meal, nobody can tell you that. That's you. And when you've given away your power to not get rejected, that's going to obviously bleed into your relationship with food. You're just going to be doing what the world does, so you don't have to worry about really being intimate with yourself and others. You just do what you're told, and then everything just works out fine. Supposedly, right? Yeah. And we know that's not the truth. So another thing you could do, if you want to try this experiment out, is to really, if you found one thing, whether it's these videos or some author or your favorite coffee shop or something that's outside of you that has relatively not done you any harm, and you've had a good experience with, you might even tangibly need to write this down and put a note here to see it and to touch that note or to touch something related to that note, but to be able to really hold on. Either hold on to somebody else's hope or faith or story, or hold on to your experience. Like, last time I went to that coffee shop and I got that latte and that scone I wanted, and the reality is I ate it and nothing bad happened and no one rejected or harmed me for eating it. Now, I know that sometimes with being that visible, right, there's always a risk of rejection, but we're really looking at, but you know what, maybe it might happen, but sometimes it doesn't. And we have to hold on to the truth, like sometimes, and maybe even 95% of the time it doesn't. And if we stay in hypervigilance and self-reliance and I don't have needs, I'm disciplined, I'm above all that, or feel like you're just going to endure the suffering and not being able to go to the coffee shop when you want to, those are all common distortions that we start to be like and think like. It's not a personality, it's a distortion. When we start to be like that with our food or our needs, then we're missing out. It's very much like wearing a coat that you don't need to be wearing, but you're doing it anyway because it's just like a just in case. Okay? But if we're living our life always in just in case, we are so missing thousands of opportunities where things would have been lovely. But our hypervigilance won't let us have it because it's better, missing the logic is to the hypervigilance, 1,000 times of missing something good, so supposedly it's worth the one time in a year that something unpleasant might happen. That makes sense when you're a baby or a toddler or a little kid or maybe a young adult and you don't have enough resource and you can't, you don't have a voice and you don't know how to navigate those things. But as adults, that's a part of adulting is boundaries and learning how to what is my stuff, what is theirs, and you're not responsible for other stuff. So those are two things I want you to all consider practicing, because if we have this push away from satisfaction, either we're overeating something past satisfaction, we're undereating, we don't get to satisfaction, or we got satisfied and we feel like we don't deserve that, so we get rid of it through exercise or other means. What that behavior reinforces is that satisfaction's a threat. Getting my needs met is a threat. And we don't want to continue to recapitulate what was done to us, right? All right, so combine today's video with Monday's, and I think you might have a little bit of some experiments to work on here, until maybe next time, whether you need to reach out to us or just in your own walk with your own team or whatever you're doing, is that look for some places where you push away what's good for you, what would be satisfying, and be really curious about that. How does your body act when you do that? What does your mind say when you do that? What are the consequences to your health, right? And this is not in a health this kind of attitude. Is just like sometimes you really want, there's this, more of you wants to do the thing that would be helpful to you, but some part of you is just hijacking that. So you're getting hijacked, that's what we call it. And that's just the part that just feels like the nourishment is a threat. If you get your needs met, something's going to happen to you. Or you might lose something. That could be part of this too. So be really curious about that. All right, thank you all so much. And next week we have a different topic on board, and I'm looking forward to going over that with you. So thank you so much. If this was helpful for you, I really appreciate you sharing with people that, you never know. When you share these videos, there might be somebody out there that doesn't know me, doesn't understand this process, doesn't do the trauma-informed part of it. They're doing really good, but they're stuck. And maybe you sharing that video would help them with their stuckness. So I appreciate that as well. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in next week's videos. Bye for now.